Tag Team Champion. And I'm Kizzy Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance blog. What is it called again? Podcast. Period. Or you're ugly. Period. 3 hour approved.
Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your premier source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. And welcoming to the show, along with DKM, is, of course, our new sponsor, and that would be Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack is a great way to get a competitive trophy for your fantasy football leagues, fantasy baseball leagues, or your own custom title. I actually had one made, DK. Did I tell you this?
No.
I've been in a fantasy baseball league since 2008, and we finally got our own championship that's going to be awarded to the winner of last season. But I'm very proud of this thing. I really enjoy it, and if you need a trophy or a title belt for your community club or fantasy sport, check out Trophy Smack. I'm very excited about the partnership with them, and if you use the link in our video description, you can get your own trophy to smack somebody with. DK, how are you, pal?
Well, funny you should ask. I'm actually doing okay.
You're doing all right?
I'm doing okay. Was almost late to this. My son was helping me with something, and then I really need to go relieve myself of certain bodily fluids, and then I finally made it here.
I need to release some of those bodily fluids, but my wife is not interested at the moment. And that's why we don't have a female demographic here at the Alliance Guys podcast.
Don't tell the females who watch the show that.
I mean, look, when Mandy's here or when Polka Dot Pam shows up or Fiona's here, they're very much welcome to the show. I wish we had more. Our pals are here already in the chat. Of course, Willie Bowen is here. Noob is here. Championship Wrestling from Jeremy. He's one of our other Alliance guys, don't you know? James H. Jackson's here. Lou Thez is here. Wrestling with Classics is here. And a couple of things. I'm going to go through the chat real quick and post some comments, but we're going to be talking a lot about Kamille this evening. Obviously, with the rumors, I guess they're not rumors. Pro Wrestling Insider reported that Kamille has been looked at extensively by the WWE. Now, we haven't seen her go for a tryout or anything, but we'll talk about that momentarily. Plus, we'll talk about the ins and outs of the NWA, some news coming with the United Wrestling Network. But first and foremost, leading off the chat tonight is Willie Bowen, who says, if Kamille leaves the NWA, she should sign up with Impact Wrestling or United Wrestling Network. The WWE will burn her out. You think Kamille can be burnt out, DK?
Well, I think anybody can be burnt out. I mean, I don't know what her wrestling schedule is, but it will increase. And I know a lot of people go, oh, go for the money, go for the money. NXT starter contracts aren't that much.
I feel like Kamille could demand a higher salary than most, but even still, you're right. It is still just it's not the same as the main roster contracts.
Could and would get it are different things.
Fair.
And I mean, I just don't. I mean, look, if I'm a wrestler and my goal in wrestling is to become a star,
yep,
I sign with, and WWE is interested in me, then I sign there. And it's that simple. I don't know if they'll pay her real good at first, but they'll pay her well enough. They'll probably pay her more than the NWA pays her, if you know what I mean. And there are stories about some of the NXT people, struggling to make ends meet. But I think those are typically the ones that, are coming from like college sports and stuff like that, where they don't really know if they're going to make it or not.
Yeah.
And so just with the WWE's mindset, I don't know if they will think Kamille's ready for TV right away or not. And anybody, I'm not saying she's not, and I'm not saying they wouldn't put her on TV soon, but anyone that's out there going, oh, of course, she's going to be, out there. She knows a lot. WWE's a different beast.
We haven't seen Jade Cargill in a ring yet.
I know. And, remember her trainers were Rhodes and Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
And she came in. Now, of course, I was never a big fan of her in-ring work, and I never felt like she improved a ton during her time there. But she didn't have to. Because basically, as long as she was willing, Billy was going to keep the title on her,
Right.
And sometimes that's a negative behind being a favorite. I have one of those somewhere.
Last night
in an attic.
Well, this is a Lego version. Last night, after dinner, I got bored and I was on Twitch and I was building Legos on Twitch. And Jeremy and Mike were there. And I was also on TikTok where I was getting harassed by people because I didn't build my Legos fast enough. But it's finished. It's a nice X-Wing.
Yeah, tell them to kiss off.
Mike actually told me to incentivize the audience on TikTok and tell them to send gifts and I would work faster. I was on Instagram Live as well, but I kind of forgot I was on Instagram Live, and the notifications from the chat from Instagram Live don't pop up on StreamYard, so I didn't see any of the comments until much later.
Better or worse?
It was fine. I mean, no one was offensive. There was a couple of guys on TikTok, some foreigners. They were very rude to me. Very rude, but that's all right.
Tell them if they do that again that you'll take your shirt off.
Yeah. Look, if the money doesn't start coming in, I'm gonna have to open up an OnlyFans, and nobody wants that. Well, maybe somebody, but
there's always somebody.
Every puzzle has a piece, right?
So
I want to get more into the chat. Our pal Jeremy always plugging the channel, saying, "Hey, don't forget that thumbs up to like, share with your friends, hit that subscribe button if you feel so inclined. You can get your dubby from the links in the merchandise. I'm drinking mango peach right now. It's delicious. Oh, excuse me, mango orange. It's delicious.
Lied.
What's that?
You lied.
What do you mean?
You said mango peach at first.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Because I was explaining to my mother-in-law the different flavors of dubby. So there is the beach and peach, which is a very solid flavor. That used to be my favorite until I discovered the mango orange. And I also have the big energy tears, which is like a raspberry flavor. I like that one too. I haven't opened it yet because I haven't gotten to it. I have too many dubbies open. So I bought them in bulk when they were on sale.
I have an unrelated question for you.
All right.
Have you ever gone to your cupboard, got a cup, gotten a drink, coffee, hot chocolate, even something cold, water, whatever?
Yeah.
And looked at the cup and said, "Where the hell did this come from?"
All the time.
Okay. Because I got one here. You probably aren't going to be able to read it because my blur's on. but it says sleep and snoring solutions. And I've had this cup for a long time, and it's for a local company. And I had no idea where it came from. I don't know if my ex gave it to me at some point.
I think that was a passive-aggressive move by the ex.
Maybe. I'm just sitting there going, why do I have this cup?
Well, the minute you lifted that cup up, and now it's clear. The minute you lifted that cup up, I'm like, I got to send you one of these, which is also available in the merch section of the website. I
actually have one of those.
Oh, maybe you need two of them. You know, I like to use them when my guests come over. It's the fancy cups.
That's the best time to use them.
All right, Noob is in the house. Let's see, James H. Jackson. I threw that up on the screen, but he says WWE will pay her good, real good. And yeah, I mean, I think, look, and this isn't a knock at the NWA. It's not a knock at Billy Corgan. It's just even the lower end contracts for the WWE, I think, are going to be higher than most of what the talent is getting paid in the NWA. And it's not a knock on anybody. It's just that's the, you know, you're dealing with a huge conglomerate, multi-million-dollar corporation and a $1 million rock star in Billy Corgan. There is a huge difference.
Well, according to Wrestling with Classics, the average base salary is $80,000. Now, I've talked to wrestlers who had deals, and I've heard less. So, I mean, I don't know how that average. I'm not saying it's not the average. I'm just saying I don't know where it goes.
And in Wrestling with Classics, I'm not doubting you at all. But do you have a source where you got that from? Because I've never heard numbers discussed, and I've known a few people in NXT, and they've always been very shush with me. I never got told what. Luthez says money talks, bullshit walks, no risk, no reward.
Yeah, I'm just well, I know a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago by now.
Yeah.
Because it was around the time of the pandemic. One of the PWInsider or a credible site like that, you know, published some basic things. You know, this is kind of the levels, and you know, I heard as low as 50 and as high as about as high as 80. You know, depending on where you were in the thing. And look, I don't know what she made for the NWA. I couldn't tell you if she made 50,000, 40,000, or 20,000.
Yeah.
And average income in the U.S. is what, 53, something like that, 54.
I need to get a raise then.
So, or median.
Sure.
Maybe that's median, not average. And I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying, you go for, if you want to be a star, you go to the place that's going to make you the star,
right?
And you take what's going to offer you. And I'm sorry, I don't know that AEW at this point in time is going to make you a star.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a debatable topic, isn't it? I mean, if you look some of the talents that have appeared in AEW, I mean, a lot of them are forgettable. You know, Brian Cage is still working for them. Brian Cage was the Impact Heavyweight Champion. I don't even want to call it a world title at this point. He was the Impact Heavyweight Champion, but you don't see him in that same kind of luster.
No, you know, a lot of former WWE wrestlers are basically in the same spot they were when they went there. There's only a few that have broken out.
Yeah.
Tony Storm being one of them, actually.
Yeah, and it took a while for her to get there as well. In fact, I would venture to say that she's probably in a much better place than she was in the WWE, but it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen when she debuted in AEW.
And just in AEW is a little bit like NWA, or NWA is a little bit like AEW. I'm not really sure who did it first. Probably both around the same time. But they have a habit of bringing people in to lose. And, you know, like Taya Valkyrie left NWA, went to AEW. Everybody was excited. She looked like she was in this program with Jade Cargill, that, she might be the one to dethrone Jade. She lost again. And then somebody else won the title. Now, Statlander had been there a while. So
can I just chime in on that? Because I was at Double or Nothing in Las Vegas, and I was super excited. I thought Taya was going to take the belt off of Jade Cargill. I always get the name wrong. Jade Cargill. I thought it was going to happen. That's one of the reasons why I drove 6 hours in and 4.5 hours out. And no, it didn't happen. And it was kind of embarrassing because not only did it not happen, but then Statlander came and took the title right afterward. And I could be mistaken. I don't think Taya got a shot at Statlander after the fact.
If she did, she didn't win. She's basically even kind of disappeared from that. I do want to address one thing. You kind of got to know what your how do I say it? You kind of got to know your value and how to work the business. AJ Styles was one of those people who chose not to go to WWE, but instead went to the new TNA product, which got him more seen, more known, more over, so that he was able to go to Japan. And then by the time he was in Japan and made it there, now not only was WWE interested in him, but he didn't go through NXT. He didn't go through anywhere. So he was a star. So yeah, there are different paths to stardom.
Sure.
And there are a lot of can't misses who signed with WWE and NXT and never went anywhere. And then, we were talking about some of them last week or the week before, how, then they leave WWE and everybody thinks, oh, they never got the chance. You watch them in Impact or TNA again, and you go, I don't know. I see now why NXT let them go,
Yeah, for sure. And just looking more in the chat, James H. Jackson points out that Brian Cage is stuck in ROH as a trios champion. I saw that Matthew Underwood said Kamille might make more of that in real estate, merch, and bookings on the indies. Which, it's possible. Wrestling with Classic said every time he'd drive up to Nashville for the NWA, it was a 6-hour drive. That is brutal. I used to complain about the 2-hour drive to Port Hueneme. I was not okay with that drive to watch Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Shoot, I complain about a 40-minute drive.
What's that?
I complain about a 40-minute drive.
When I go to watch Lucha Libre in Mexico, it's about a 2-hour drive. It's funny. I can literally be in another country faster than I could be in Los Angeles on a typical day. So that's always fun. Matthew Underwood points out
and one's a couple hundred miles and the other one's 15. Yeah. And it's the 15 that's longer.
It's like 60, but yeah. Matthew Underwood says Ruby Soho is probably higher up the card than Athena. FTR is way bigger in AEW. The Good Brothers are buried in the WWE. So yeah, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of moving pieces. Wrestling with Classics says I did drive 2 hours once a month for SICW. It's not bad, really. Yeah, I was doing that too for a very long time, for probably 2017 to 2019, 2 years. Maybe even, like 2017. It was about the time that Billy Corgan was rumored to be buying the NWA. I started making that trip monthly, and that was brutal. And then I was making that trip, so I got the inside information.
How'd that work?
What's that now?
How did that work out for you?
And for a while, it was great. You remember we had Dave Lagana on here? Do you remember when the NWA promoters used to like coming on here and talking about their product? You know, we never had we never had Ken Taylor actually come on, but he would always send talent to come put over the shows that were happening. We never actually had Ed Schumann on, but we had a lot of the promoters in that area come on, specifically Kenny Garrett. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would come on all the time. We had former presidents of the NWA come on, Bill Barons, Dave Marquez. Well, Dave Marquez wasn't president. We had help me out with some of the names here.
Bob Trowbridge coming? Sure.
Yeah, Trowbridge came on once. Trowbridge was a guest once, but a couple of times he called in when things were happening, when he had some stuff cooking. And we even had NWA Florida promoter, president.
Howard Brody?
Yeah, Brody. We had Brody come on. So, yeah. And then Matthew Underwood is booking our show for us. He says Joe Alonzo should be my next guest. I would love to have Joe Alonzo on. If you have any kind of relationship with it, float it to him. I'd be happy to have Joe Alonzo on. I think he is very much part of the NWA's future, part of their what's what I'm looking for, plans in the future. Maybe not the 20-year plans, but I think he's very much a part of their plans. He would be a welcome guest on here. And I don't think Aaron Stevens would have any interest coming on here. I did reach out to EC3. That was a hard sell. Didn't happen. I did reach out to Kamille multiple times. Always got we'll work something out, but never did. So, and yes, Bruce Tharp was on here right after he purchased he won the NWA. And that was the very, that show is, you know how many phone calls I got after that show, DK?
No.
Lots of former members of the NWA were very unhappy that I put him on, and like, why didn't you call him out on the shit he was saying? I'm like, dude, I was just happy to have him on. Like, what do you mean?
Well, as we say for any guest, we're always respectful. You know,
yeah, I don't look, I've never roasted anybody that's been on here.
And yeah, that was a crazy thing. But we were kind of, I don't know. I had a conversation with Tharp offline after we had done it. And it was set up through one of the partners.
Yeah.
And the partner told us we couldn't ask certain questions. And then afterwards, I was talking to him, and he goes, "I'm surprised you didn't ask about XYZ." I go, "Well, we were told we couldn't." He goes, "What do you mean you were told you couldn't?" I go, "Well, we were told we couldn't ask about X, Y, or Z." He goes, "You guys could have asked me about anything."
Well, you know, and again, we were respectful.
Yeah, which always would be respectful. It's just, you know, it was just one of those things of, oh, you can't talk about this and you can't talk about that. And it's like,
don't bring up the past management. Don't bring up the lawsuit. Don't bring up, Anyway, so yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Kamille, because obviously I think earlier in the chat, Matthew Underwood says that he hopes that the WWE would recognize Kamille as a former NWA Women's World Champion and that she would be able to keep the Kamille name. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think
Brian Pillman Jr. hasn't kept his name.
Wait, say that again?
Brian Pillman Jr. didn't keep that name.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like that's a different set of circumstances. Brian Pillman Jr. was a jobber for AEW. He really was an enhancement for them all. Almost.
Yeah, he's kind of been the same thing in NXT so far. But it's,
right.
But no, look, Drew Gallows.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre has said in interviews one time that he was talking, you know, like when they were getting ready to go out or something like that, and Stephanie goes, "What name are you using?" He goes, "Mine." And she goes, "No, we can't do that." And I hate to tell people this because sometimes they forget.
I'm thinking of 3 names in the WWE in the last couple of years that got to keep their names.
Well, what I was going to say is that people who have true established names are the only ones that really get to keep them. And even some of them, get modified versions of it. But a lot of people on the indie circuit and everything like that, or who are indie fans or super indie fans or super NWA fans or whatever, think that, oh, well, Kamille is known, or, remember Taya Valkyrie was Frankie Monet or Frankie something. And, they're going to change her name.
Yeah.
They will probably change her look a little.
Give her red hair.
Maybe.
Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Adam Cole, and Keith Lee were like the 4 guys I was thinking of who kept their name.
And I was surprised with Lee.
What's that?
And I was surprised with Keith Lee.
They tried to change it. That's part of the reason why he wanted to leave, or he was happy when he got let go. And then Walter, they turned him into Gunther. And Matthew Underwood also brings up Jade Cargill, which is, yeah, you're right. But again, she actually had a following before pro wrestling. You know what I mean? Like she was a fitness model star, and her Instagram account had hundreds of thousands of followers before she started working with AEW. This is kind of a natural progression. We'll see what it is.
Come on, we have Braun Breaker.
Yeah, they didn't let him use a Steiner name. They changed who else? Oh gosh, they wouldn't let Finn Balor be Fergal Devitt. They did let Carl Machine Gun Anderson keep his name, right? Machine Gun Anderson. Yeah. So there are a few exceptions to the rule, but in most cases they don't want you to have your name, because if you leave, they want to be able to copyright your name and trademark your name. And if it's your actual name, that makes it more difficult for them. So obviously it's the WWE's preferred method of entry is to have you have a worked name so that they can own that name.
Well, and I think, when we look at some of the people we have, like, let's even go with Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah.
We're also talking about people who came from New Japan, and they might have overestimated New Japan's influence in the U.S.
Yeah.
That they were allowing them to keep it. And so, yeah, there are, but Camille's not Jade Cargill as far as being known. She's not AJ Styles.
Yeah.
It's not even Keith Lee. And like Adam Cole and the ones that came from ROH. Remember, Hunter was Paul Levesque, whatever you want to call him, was, specifically trying to steal ROH fans.
Yeah.
So, they let some people keep their names for what they were known, but there were strategic reasons behind it. And I don't know that there's any strategic reason to keep Kamille.
And it's not, and please understand, when we say these things, we're not diminishing how great Kamille was for the NWA. I'm not diminishing what she was able to accomplish in her 4 years of in-ring time with the NWA. The fact that she was able to hold the Burke for 812 days, the fact that she was one of very few people to defend her championship in Mexico and Canada. I also believe she defended in the UK. I believe a part of what Kamille was brought to the table is what brought CCW and the NWA into this kind of a working deal that they have right now. We know next weekend there's going to be several shows where CCW talent and NWA talent will be on the same card. And I think that doesn't happen if it wasn't for somebody like Kamille, who was out there putting value on that NWA name. You got to remember too, like Kamille had one match prior to the pandemic. Think about that. She debuted with the NWA at the 70th anniversary show. Nobody knew who she was. I remember even David Lagana sent me a clip of the before they released the Nick Aldis promo and said, "Do you know who that woman is?" And I said, "No." It didn't show her face. It just showed kind of her body. I'm like, she's too buff to be Mickie James. I have no idea who that is. And of course, it ended up being Kamille. But her in-ring debut didn't happen until 2020 for the NWA. Now, she had been wrestling elsewhere, but she really didn't get into the ring for the National Wrestling Alliance until 2020. She had one match, and then the pandemic paused, right? So she didn't step into the ring again until after the NWA returned in 2021. Oh, I take it back. No, she was also part of the United Wrestling Network's Primetime Live series, where she wrestled Sherry Simone, also known as the Aussie Princess and Women of Wrestling. She also had a match against Heather Monroe during those Primetime Live series. Now that the match against Simone Sherry never even aired on the United Wrestling Network. That was a dark match that was filmed exclusively for the NWA. But then she didn't step into another NWA ring again until 2021, and she was thrusted into a feud towards the Women's Championship. She only had 8 matches, DK, before she was Women's World Champion with the NWA. Now, again, I want to keep specifying that because she trained with Team 3D. She had a career before joining the NWA, but as a wrestler for the National Wrestling Alliance, she only had 8 appearances in an NWA ring before she was Women's World Champion. That's pretty... that says a lot about what they thought she was able to do and the kind of reaction she was getting from the audience.
Yeah, and we saw her mature a lot.
Yeah.
And so let's not, let's praise her by how quickly she developed and stuff.
Yes.
And so, but again, let's also not overstate the size of the audience that knows who she is.
Oh, for sure.
Now, I actually knew who she was before she came to the NWA because of who her boyfriend at the time was.
The Lingerie Football League.
No, I did not know her from that. No, she had a famous boyfriend at the time.
Wasn't it Braun Strowman?
Yeah, and I followed his Instagram account. And so that's actually where I first saw her and knew her. And so, and even then, I didn't know that she wrestled,
Yeah.
I just knew that she was in the business.
Jammin' Music Man says, remember when she didn't speak?
Right.
Now, actually, sometimes I enjoyed those days that she didn't speak. She was such a pivotal person in the whole creation of Strictly Business. If the storyline's a little shaky if you don't remember, but Nick Aldis was kind of riding that baby face into the first season of Power, and he was challenging Tim Storm to a match where he made the decree that if Tim would put his opportunity to challenge for the 10 pounds of gold ever again up against the title. And that's when Kamille kind of got involved in the match. And a lot of things happened, of course, but it seemed like Kamille was churning on Nick, and it looked like they were going to start feuding with, she started managing the wild card, which was obviously Tom and Royce at the time, and it worked. Everything, I feel like they did a good job with Kamille, and again the slow maturation process, but it was a maturation maturation process. She was really green when she first started working for the NWA, but towards the end of her career, I mean, her matches were some of the best on the cards. We were at the 75th anniversary, and I think every one of us agreed that her match with Markova stole the show on night number 1, and on night number 2, her match with Kenzie, I think, was far better than the match between EC3 and Tyrus.
Well, you know, the year where, who did she face? It wasn't maybe it was 74 where she also defended 2 nights. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was the night they did also, was it 73rd? They did Pretty Empower, and they did Pretty Empowered. They did the Empowered pay-per-view, and then the 73rd on the same night.
Well, I think there was one where she wrestled Tyra Valkyrie on the first night and Max on the second.
I'll find out for you.
Look and see if that's 74. I just remember that I thought she had the best match both nights, and Billy Corgan also made the comment that she had the best match both nights. I said, look, it's one of the rare times in this world that we'll ever agree.
So on NWA 74, she defeated Chelsea Green. That was the Empowered pay-per-view. And then, well, that's not accurate. Let me look somewhere else. Hold on. Hold on here. Let's see. So yeah, 74 at the Empowered. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry. Why is this so difficult right now?
Well, because you're trying too hard.
Yeah, that's probably it.
It's the only thing I got going here, dude.
Let me pull. I will get to this. Give me just a second. Bear with me. I will figure this out. Okay, so at 73 at the Chase, she defeated Chelsea Green, and then but the night before she beat Layla Hirsch. So at Empower, she defeated Legit Layla. At the 73, she defeated Chelsea Green. Then the next year, they just did 2 nights of the anniversary show, and that's when the first night she defeated Chelsea Green.
No, first night she defeated Tyra Valkyrie.
That's not listed here. Oh, okay, you're right. Night 1, 74, Ty Valkyrie. The next night, Max the Impaler. Yeah,
Because that was actually the main event of night 1.
Yes.
And then Max the Impaler had won the
Burke Invitational.
The Burke Invitational, which is what got her the title match second night. And she won that one. She won both by pinfall. Yeah, some of us thought she might lose to Valkyrie.
I thought she was. I think I went on here and said, yeah, I think, and to me, it kind of made sense too. It would have made sense to have Kamille lose to Taya, because at the time she was working with AAA. They could have set up another rematch in Mexico for the women's world championship, and that would have made sense. But they didn't pull that trigger.
Well, it was one of those odd things. She actually did wrestle her in Mexico for
the Reina de Reinas championship,
which Valkyrie won by submission, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then they did have a third match between them, but they had basically ignored the other one, and it was one of those you didn't understand exactly why they made some of the decisions they made. Which I also understand that there are things that go on behind the scenes that nobody fully understands.
Sure.
That people don't always get. And I've told stories about that before.
Yeah.
So
do you think that the WWE is the best spot for Kamille, or do you think she'd be better suited somewhere else? In the chat, they had mentioned TNA Wrestling. In the chat, some people have mentioned AEW. Hell, Mexico is still genuinely an opportunity for her, because you got to think about it this too. I mean, we just saw Deonna Purrazzo debut for AEW, which means her spot in the TNA is now available. And then with that being said, there's a lot of rumors going around against what's her name? Shoot. The Usos' wife who wrestles Naomi. What's her name in TNA? Trinity. There's a lot of rumors that Trinity might head to back to the WWE, which that means there's 2 spots now available in TNA wrestling. Where do you think she would be better suited to go of the 3? If you were steering her ship, where would you send her?
Okay. Honestly, I think she has the look and talent to make it in WWE. It's not getting lost in the shuffle.
Sure, but that's a challenging thing as well.
Yeah, that's the challenge. If you were looking for somewhere where you could go that's bigger than the NWA, bigger than MLW, that type of thing, don't go to AEW. They book the women horribly.
Sure.
But if you're going somewhere where you had a realistic chance of being champion or something like that, then you go to TNA for a couple of years and hope that gets more people seeing you and more people knowing who you are, so that WWE would even be more interested in you afterward. But if they're interested now, yeah, that's what you try for. So
I'm gonna pose the question in the chat. If you guys would be willing to participate, I would love to see what your responses would be. And that'll be up here in just a second. I'm working on it right now.
That's what they also.
All right, so the poll is open now. Please vote of where you think Kamille should go. Not where she's going to go, where you think she should go. If it were up to you, where would she go? Where would Kamille go? If not the NWA, where? And, just, again, kind of looking back at the career that she had with the NWA, she had over 40 title defenses, especially at a time when the NWA didn't run 40 events in a given year. I think they maybe had 40 events in 2023, but she had so many title matches outside of the NWA, represented the NWA very well. She wrestled. Again, at Coastal Championship Wrestling. She made appearances for XPW as the women's champion. She appeared in AAA Lucha Libre as the women's champion, not just defending the title, but also the Lucha Libre World Cup. She appeared at Flawless Wrestling, and I believe that's the promotion that's associated with the Page family. The Reality of Wrestling, she showed up there. She showed up for the ladies' night out shows that they do every basically around the convention fest out there in Winston-Salem in North Carolina. She appeared again for Battleground Wrestling. She appeared for WAW. She made a lot of appearances outside of the NWA as women's champion. And when she carried that belt, you knew she carried that NWA flag, that NWA banner, and especially when you had a world champion who did not defend his title at all, well, very sparingly in 2023. You had Kamille, who had about 14 title defenses in 2023. That's obviously more than once a month. But again, when the NWA doesn't run that frequently, that's kind of a lot.
True. Very, very true.
So
what else is going on in the NWA, Mr. Callie?
First of all, it's Mr. Caley. Secondly, we've got
whatever I want to call you.
Jesus.
Be glad I was nice.
I would say not knowing how to pronounce my last name after 15 years isn't very nice, dude.
I never said I was nice.
That's fair. Okay, so we did have an episode of Power this week. Obviously, they're planting seeds for their upcoming Paranoia show. But the big thing I think that we should address is, not only was Paranoia coming next weekend to Fort Lauderdale, but notice that logo there in the bottom left-hand corner. What does that say, DK? Oh, sorry. There you go.
The CW.
Yeah.
Or actually see the W.
See the W. See the W, now eat it. It's very interesting that, again, the NWA has had a very peculiar relationship with YouTube. Had YouTube and the NWA, well, let me rephrase that. Had the NWA not started putting its content out on YouTube, I don't know that they would ever have manifested what they are now. When we look at the NWA and going back to those 10 pounds of gold series that again were highlighted on Facebook videos and YouTube, that was the only place you could see that NWA content. There was no NWA there was no NWA television program when Billy Corgan took over. There was no one place. Now, if you were watching Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, of course, you would see the interactions with Nick Aldis and Tim Storm and all the things that were going on there. But there was no central hub for NWA content without YouTube. And so for the first, I guess, 3 years of the existence of the NWA, their content solely existed by YouTube and to a lesser extent, Facebook. Eventually that would end up, after the pandemic, this isn't the first time it's happened. The NWA wiped everything off of YouTube. We're talking about Circled Square. We're talking about those early episodes of Power, all the 10 pounds of gold, the Carneyland stuff. Everything was gone, all of it. And without even an announcement, they just ripped it all down. And shortly after that, they announced that they would be becoming exclusive content providers for Fight TV, the online app, obviously not the network, but Fight would be the home of the NWA. And after a short time, then the content would return to YouTube, but it was never the same. The 10 pounds of gold never returned. The early episodes of NWA Power never returned. And that's how the NWA has been ever since, until recently when they did announce that they were supposed to have a deal with two top 20 cable channels, which still haven't been announced, still hasn't come to fruition. And what it appears now is that it's going to be strictly on the CW, but not the CW app. Excuse me, not the CW network, but the CW app. And it sounds like we aren't going to have any more content on YouTube. Like Dave Scooby just said, no more NWA. Let me rephrase that. No more NWA Power on YouTube. Do you think this could be a mistake, DK?
I don't know, because I don't know the business dealings behind it. I think if you're in the U.S. and you watch it currently on YouTube, you'll probably watch it on CW app. If you're not in the U.S. and you watch it, you're probably out of luck. But my guess is YouTube gives you statistics, right? Like where people are from.
Yeah.
So my guess is they figured not enough people outside the U.S. watch it to make an economic difference to them. That's going to be my guess. And they may, again, I don't know what the deal is, but they may do something where they show, an occasional match or something on YouTube just to help promote it. I don't know, but yeah, the idea of an episode of television is probably going away. What will be interesting to see is if they have to maintain some kind of standard time, even if it's just on the app.
Yeah. So as I'm sitting here ferociously typing away here, I'm trying to pull up the NWA's YouTube channel on Social Blade, which I use quite a bit to kind of get metrics from you know, these are estimates that they come up with. Now, the estimated annual earnings that YouTube provides the NWA, the low end is a paltry $1,200. That's almost nothing. And I say that as somebody who would love to be making $1,000 on YouTube annually. That's nothing. On the high end, they're making $20,000 a year, which sounds incredible, right? Until you realize that, you know, probably each episode of Power costs them close to like, you know, $5,000 or $10,000. So it's not a lot of money that's happening on YouTube. However, I think the big thing is the eyeballs, right? Like, you know, you just said it. A lot of their audience, you know, is going to have no problem following them to CW. But, you know, it is one of these things where if you look at this, if they leave YouTube completely, they're abandoning on the upside of $20,000 annually. I don't think that's the best business decision. Matthew Underwood suggests that perhaps maybe where was it? I saw it here a second ago. Where'd you put that? Oh, yeah, there it is. You know, leaving only the CW at limits your resources, limits the audience. Let CW get there first, then YouTube 48 hours later. They tried doing that with Fight, and I really don't feel like that was the best case scenario for them. The other thing Matthew Underwood suggests is doing a high voltage or a territory show on YouTube, or just like a 10 pounds of gold series. Both of those I think are very smart options. Even something as simple as like a power surge, which is like a what we were used to as like a 30-minute type show that kind of caught you up on what was happening via some of the matches. You get some new content directly just for YouTube, and maybe highlight some of the other matches that were on CW. Do you think any of these options are viable? Do you think it's something that the NWA should concentrate their energy on? I mean, again, at most, they're making $20,000 a year with YouTube, according to Social Blade. Is that worth their effort?
No, and I mean, Billy's basically acknowledged they don't get much money out of their YouTube show.
Sure.
So, is that the right amount or not? I don't know, but it's close. That's what you have to go with. Territory shows, let the territories worry about the territories.
Sure.
And some of them will probably be on YouTube or some other streaming service. This is different than Fight, because Fight was a paywall.
Yeah.
Even if it was $5, you still had to pay $5 or buy a year's worth or whatever. And let's be honest, most people who bought the subscription for the annual rate or whatever, whenever they did it the one time, was so they could get the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And so let's go with, but yeah, I mean, they should put something on there that can promote it. Again, we'll note, I don't know exactly how much they're allowed to do. I don't know what the agreement is.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. We don't know. We're not in the boardroom. We're not listening to what Billy and, the executives at CW, what they're negotiating out in terms of, what the bottom line is. Like, if the NWA was making somewhere around $20,000 a year for Power on YouTube, and now they have an opportunity to make 6 times that, 7 times that, 8 times that, that doesn't sound like a crazy number for broadcast television. Wouldn't it make sense for them to do that? Wouldn't it make sense for them to go where the money is at? You're muted.
Yeah, that's what you always do.
Chase the money. Matthew Underwood said your son is playing the guitar. Is that true?
Yep, that's why I'm muted.
Well, you're good. You're a good dad and a good sport. Yeah, I mean, like, look, I think James H. Jackson said it too. Like, I feel the CW app will make them more money. Don't you want the company to grow? And at the bottom, the bottom line is the only way they're going to grow is with more cash, right? Their pay-per-view numbers, if we're to believe what's being reported, Matthew Underwood said this a couple of times last week. If they're getting 200 buys a pay-per-view, we're making up 20% of that audience. This community, the Alliance community, we are the Alliance. We're making up like 20% of their audience. That doesn't sound very good to me. Like, no disrespect to any one of you guys, your money certainly talks, and they should be listening. But if we make up 20% of the audience and we're 20 people, that's not good. That's not something that you want to celebrate. So I feel like they need to go again where the money is at. That's how they're going to grow. I'm sure they make money doing live events. Sure, they're making money selling merchandise. But again, like, you can't survive on $20,000 a year. Our pal Luthez says, I will watch on the CW app if I have to, but this feels like another fight situation. It may be free this time, but I don't think as many people will make the effort to watch compared to YouTube. And I think that's a very good point to bring up as well, because again, like, sure, it's very easy to go to CW. Like, it literally is, CWTV.com or something like that. And you can watch right there. You don't have to sign up. And yeah, there are commercials just like YouTube. There's no signing up. There is no live chat to go along with the videos. But other than that, I mean, it's the experience is very comparable. It's very much the same. And you can watch it on your phone. You can watch it on your TV if it's got the Roku app or whatever. I watch it on my PC, and I've never had a problem with being able to watch it that way. But for those of our brothers and sisters who are outside of the country, they don't have those options.
No, and they might drop a few when they move, but I don't think this is another fight situation for the same reason I stated earlier. That adding CW app, which I did to my computer the first day I learned that it was showing up.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. And it's just, if you're not willing to add that app to see it, then you're probably not that big of a fan anyway. And I'm surprised you're watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, and again, it's the same thing. You pick up and stop where you left off. I'll go from work to home watching some of the NWA on my YouTube channel and watch it here, and then come home and watch it. It's the same thing when you go to the CW app. If you're using the same device like your phone or a tablet or something like that, it's the same experience. But if you're obviously logging in from one machine to the next machine, I believe you watch from the beginning. So, I mean, but again, like, these are minor inconveniences. If you're a fan of the NWA, I don't think that would be a problem for most people. Real quick, let's see some of the comments. James says, do we do more live specials like Paranoia instead of pay-per-views? And again, like, if they're only making, okay, so the pay-per-view's what, $25? Like, let's do the math real quick. I'll pull out my phone and get my calculator, because math is my weak subject. But if I pull up my calculator and I do 25 times 200 people, that's $5,000. Now, I think that's probably a fraction of the gate that they would get from a live event. But what's the benefit of doing a pay-per-view if you're spending all that money to make $5,000? That's not a good ROI. That's a terrible ROI. I guarantee you pay-per-view costs more than $5,000 to put together, right? Lou says they should pander to us more than, if we make up that big of the audience, they should pander to us. And you know what, Lou? I'm with you on this one. Damn it, Billy, take my phone call. Answer my DMs.
I would like to say that's not going to happen.
No, it's not. But it's funny to suggest. Matthew Underwood says, hell, your subscribers alone would be a huge turnout for their buys compared to the alleged buys. Yeah, and the funny thing is we rolled deep to the 75th, and I mean, there was at least, 6 of us? And I know that sounds funny, but like Dave Scooby, Jay Cal, Tim the Alliance, Raluca the Alliance, Luthez was there, Fuzz was there. Did I say Scooby already? Scooby was there. Sam Retro was there. And so there was almost 10 of us there. And there was a lot more than 10 people in the audience, but I feel like, yeah, man, we represented pretty good there. And then James says, Luthez has an old square CRT TV. Matthew says, Luthez listens to the radio broadcast. You guys are burying Lou tonight. What's going on? James says, so he doesn't have a streaming TV and would have to watch on his phone. He was hoping for an antenna TV on CW. That'd be good. Luth says, nowhere near as many people will find it on accident on CW compared to YouTube. That I do agree with. And in which case, I kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier. It only makes sense for them to find another way to continue to produce content for the NWA on YouTube, whether that be, again, like the Power Surge, or maybe just putting some matches up there. But the thing that I find most confusing about all of it is this deal that they have with CW seems very familiar to what Women of Wrestling have with the CW. And if it's anything the same, I mean, if you go to the WOW's YouTube channel, not only do they have full matches, not only do they have full promos, they have full episodes. So, like, why would you change that? Why is Jeannie Buss a better business negotiator than Billy Corgan?
Well, Corgan's probably getting more money. That would be my guess.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to be, look, everyone who does business negotiation knows there's give and take.
Sure.
And what you're willing to give on one side, you're going to take on the other. And so that would be and look, we don't know the deal other than they probably won't be, other than there's not going to be full episodes of Power, just from the sounds of it. We do not know if they'll be able to release matches here and there. We do not know if they'll put on different type of shows or whatever outside their streaming. I don't know how many people accidentally stumble across the NWA on YouTube. I mean, because I rarely stumble across wrestling promotions on YouTube. And if I do, it's only because somebody else has sent me something.
So my experience is a little bit different. Like, I know, because I watch a lot of the United Wrestling Network on YouTube, and I've been known to watch episodes of WOW because my friend of the show, Ruby Reyes, wrestles there as La Reina del Rey. I get also the matches. There's another competing women's promotion. I think it's owned by a former MMA fighter. Like, it's so bizarre. Melina does like she's like the president, the on-air president of that promotion. And I would get those matches as well because I was watching WOW. They figured, oh, you must like women's wrestling. So here it is. Man, if Henry West could see me now. DCam didn't even pop for that. He's just too busy. What is it? Are you on Tinder? What's going on over there?
I'm making fun of somebody at the moment. Do you mind?
As long as it's not me.
No, honestly, this is one of the times it's not you.
Especially Crockett Cup is a lot, bringing in all those tag teams if the number 200 is true. And I guess they're like, look, as a business owner, someone who likes to think of himself as a multiple business owner, I can see where maybe the cost of doing business might be high, but it's a means to an end. Like, so the last 4 years of producing Power for either Fight or YouTube has netted Billy Corgan some, maybe 80 hours of a library. And of those 80 hours, he has matches from Nick Aldis and Eli Drake and Tim Storm and, Thunder Rosa and Kamille and Royce Isaacs and Eddie Kingston. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that there is value in having a library which features so much history. Now, I'm not trying to sell you that the NWA library is this huge, like, valuable commodity, but they do have some matches. They have a match with Cody Rhodes where he wrestles for the world's heavyweight champ, or defends the world's heavyweight championship. They have matches that feature Ricky Starks, multiple matches with Ricky Starks. They have matches with various talents throughout the years. So there could be some stuff there that there's something to it, but again, at the end of the day, it's got to make dollars for it to make sense. And if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And, look, we've always said the same thing. Pro wrestling is a business.
Yep.
All right. And that's how you treat it. You treat it as a business that you're out to make money in. And if you don't,
you're a fool.
That way, you're not going to last.
You're a fool. Say it, DK. You're a fool.
You're a fool. And that was Gorilla Monsoon that said it, not me.
Yeah.
But I agree. And ultimately that's the whole point, isn't it? I mean, the problem I have with some fans when it comes to professional wrestling is, imagine if I went to a park that had basketball courts.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there watching the guys play basketball. And I go, well, let me come up with 4 or 5 different teams, maybe 6, with 7 guys on each team. Then I'm going to pull from these, basketball court parks. Because, they look pretty good when they're playing. And let me go find a indoor basketball court somewhere. And let me start the Fort Worth Basketball League.
Yes, I'm in.
And I'm going to charge you guys $15 to come watch these pros. They're pros because I'm paying them. Client's a pro.
No, you're right.
And
that's how I call myself a professional podcaster. Someone's paying me for this.
And so, here are these pro basketball players. So let's come watch my basketball league.
I dig it.
And okay, I want to address something to Matthew Underwood. Sure, they have different numbers. The point was, when the 200 number came out for Shanghai, they said that was one of their best numbers. And I think it was like 211 or 233, depending on your source. And they go, that was one of the best numbers that came out. And actually, if you go around and if you look on Twitter and stuff like that, there are people who did like that crap. I mean, legitimate things. There was somebody who watched it that was just like, boy, yeah, if they had more shows like this, go watch Game Changer.
Some people like Lucha Underground too. What are you talking about, man?
And it's just, so that was the thing. They didn't say, nobody knew Cocaine Gate was coming, so that didn't cost them viewers.
Do you know what's amazing about that is everyone talks about Cocaine Gate, but no one mentions that one of the broads' member fell out of her shirt. No one even brings it up.
Because they were happy about that. We're hoping it'll happen again on the next show.
Well, sure, I get that.
I mean, yeah. But anyway, yeah, Cocaine Gate didn't affect the number because nobody knew that was coming. And they said it was a higher number. That was an official number by a wrestler who was at the show and behind the scenes. And that's as much as I can say.
So I'm looking.
No, it did not come from Hausman.
No, but our old pal, Certified Hustler, said that the numbers for the pay-per-view were 212.
No.
And,
Well,
and I did
along with what I heard.
And I did Google that. I didn't pull that number, or I didn't. I'm not. Certified Hustler's blocked on all my accounts, so I don't see his content. So that was a Google, and that tweet was viewed 25,000 times. Why are we giving a voice to that guy? Jesus Christ! If there's any excuse for editing on the internet and blocking people from being on it, he's one of them.
James H. Jackson points out even Mike Johnson from PWInsider said 235 pay-per-view buys.
There you go.
So, I mean, look, they don't, in my book, they don't get much more credible than PWInsider.
No. Mike Johnson is a professional. He's a journalist. He has integrity. And, I can't wait. Okay, switching gears just a little bit. It's really awful. The things that were alleged against Chris Jericho. And if they're true, I hope he's punished to the full extent of the law. I don't believe in people. I don't believe in the dynamic of that relationship that was rumored. If that's what's going on in AEW, then I hope everybody suffers who was involved. But our old pal Hausman, who wouldn't know me from a hole in the wall, went on this vitriol about Jericho and what he's done. And it even blew up our Discord. And then he kind of backtracked it. And he says, I didn't backtrack it. I was stating an opinion versus fact. But when you're stating your opinion as fact, you can really confuse the audience. And I'm wondering how Jericho is going to respond against that. I wonder if we're going to get some defamation lawsuits, or if this is, I kind of feel like if we don't hear anything from Jericho, then maybe there's some smoke where there's fire.
I don't know if there's smoke where there's fire, where that specifically on that specific issue, but I think there are enough other things that he probably doesn't want dug into.
Sure.
There are stories that, he has had people sign, non-disclosures for various reasons over time. Non-disclosures are not uncommon, people.
Sure.
I mean, we need to stop making it sound like, oh, well, if there's a non-disclosure, that means, something devious. No, very common in business.
Sure.
I mean, almost anybody who my company contracts with, there's a non-disclosure agreement in it. That's part of it. So let's stop making it sound like that. But just because of the way he came out and was being Chris Jericho, I think at one time he had some respect behind the scenes, but I think he's lost most of it.
Well, what I find very interesting is when that news broke, and again, for whatever Hausman says, like, that was a very hot topic, and the dynamic of that pay-per-view, I think, was changed because of it, where Jericho, who had been a heel for quite a while in AEW, has been more wrestling as a face as of late, but the fans booed him, and that wasn't something that normally happens with Jericho. In AEW, the crowd usually responds very positively when it comes out. They sing along to the song, and people were chanting, NDA. They were chanting Kylie's name and everything else, and it was just such a bad scene. And I would be shocked if there isn't some sort of litigation because of this. Because if I'm Jericho and I have nothing to hide, which we don't know if that's the case or not, but I'm going after that kid for sure. You make me look bad. You sold me a bag, threw me under the bus, if you will. No, I'm not going to be okay with that.
Like all things, it's going to be a risk reward.
Sure.
And honestly, I think this is going to be me guessing. Not saying Jericho did anything wrong or did anything like that, but I think the risk is probably higher than the reward, because ultimately, he never came out with a specific allegation. He did not. Others did after the fact.
Sure.
And he said, no, it was just a comparison how this one person had, one time was, big, strong, and powerful, and, now it's in jail or, whatever. How, the fall from grace.
Yeah.
And he's just saying there are things in Jericho's skeletons in Jericho's closet that could cause a big fall from grace. And I think that can probably truly be said of most people.
Yeah, and I look, if you dig far enough in anyone's closet, I'm sure you're going to find something that's going to paint them in a negative light. But again, if it were me, if I was Chris Jericho and I had the resources, I don't think I would hesitate to sue somebody. But then again, like you said, there could be more to it that we don't even know about. And I think that's the real damning thing. I hope there isn't, but there always could be. The next thing that we were real quick, Matthew Underwood said, House is in a camp that doesn't want AEW to exist. It was a chess move. It's exhausting. Yeah, I mean, I get that too, and I know that he's been very detrimental to the NWA success. It's funny. So I can't name drop because I don't remember the guys' names, but I was at a post AEW wrestling show, and I was there with some other wrestling people, not bigwigs, but people who are journalists in the industry or do podcasts or live streams or whatever. And two of the gentlemen I was speaking to, I asked them about Hausman because I never heard of this guy before, but they had their ear to the ground, and both of them just buried the guy. And, I guess I wouldn't say their names anyways because I don't want to put them in a weird position. But, House is an interesting dude. It seems like he doesn't want anyone to succeed because his beef with Billy Corgan stems from a Josephus thing from like 10 years ago. And it's like he was upset that Billy Corgan didn't protect him from Josephus back at the Revolution Championship Wrestling. I think that's what it was back in Chicago post when was that? I guess like in 2010, 2011, 2012, something like that. And it's just wild to me. Like he's holding on to a grudge because of that. If I held on the grudge to everybody, man, I wouldn't sell KFC chicken to anybody. That was only for that joke was only for DKM. Nobody else.
Think you're holding on to a grudge. Oh, well.
You know what? We actually had talked, not face to face, but online, and he's invited me to go check out his shows. They haven't made sense for me. Like when they're happening, I'm nowhere near Torrance, California. That's not a short drive for me, so I haven't made it out there. But I wouldn't have a problem.
Anywhere near Torrance, California? That sounds like one of those places that's not near anything.
No, Torrance is actually really close to like LAX. It's not far from the LAX airport. It's just I'm not close to LA. Nothing in LA is close to me. When I go to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood when they were filming in Irvine, because of the way the freeway's set up, it's only about an hour drive for me, but I'm on toll roads and it's a lot easier to get there, whereas everything else sucks. Our boy Paladin's in the house saying, "Hey Jay and the other guy." You're the other guy, DK. The other guys are on Wednesdays. This is the guy. Mike Santana I wouldn't mind. Look, there's a lot of talent that I know are becoming available, and this wasn't something we were planning to talk about, but obviously last night, some of the big news out of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom, which I always have has a warm spot in my heart because it did host a world title match with Rob Conway and Satoshi Kojima back in the day. But Wrestle Kingdom had their big event last night. And one of the things that a lot of people are talking about is the artist formerly known as Dolph Ziggler appeared ringside, not in a wrestling capacity, but was in Japan with his brother, Nick Nemeth. And the thoughts are obviously that he is going to be signing with New Japan Pro Wrestling, which I think is a great place for him. DK, what is your thought about the artist formerly known as Dolph Ziggler joining that New Japan roster?
I don't know, because New Japan's currently in a state of flux, aren't they?
There is something going on, obviously, in Japan. You're seeing a lot of the top free agent gaijins not re-signing.
Well, well, what's his name? God, who was their top wrestler for a while?
Will Ospreay?
No, Japanese.
Hashimoto?
Is that right?
Like back in the old days, or when?
No, not. He was kind of on his descendancy as Okada was on his ascendancy.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Kenny Omega's buddy.
Yeah. He's held the IWGP title like more times than anybody. I can't remember his name. Saved my life. Tanahashi?
Are you talking about Kota Ibushi?
No. I can see him so clearly, but I can't think of his name. Come on, people. He has the weird hair.
Naito?
President now. That's it. James H. Jackson. Thank you, James.
Tanahashi. Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's taken over as president. And apparently, and James might know more about this than me, but apparently, New Japan's been in a decline. And a lot of tournaments, a lot of stuff, losing, a lot of the foreign talent, everything. And supposedly Tanahashi, one of his things when he comes in is he's kind of revamp how they run and everything. And so he's kind of stuck with what the plans were for the next year. Through 24. But supposedly he's supposed to kind of be coming in and streamlining them. So, yeah, and somebody else was replaced too, and I don't remember who. And and replacing is not necessarily bad. Sometimes there has to be something that goes on, happens to keep things fresh and stuff like that. AEW lost a couple of vice presidents recently, and a lot of people have been saying that signals doom. Well, not if they replace them. Neither one of them was popular, and neither one of them was said to be doing a good job. And so, if you replace them with people who are good at the job, that that could be a net plus.
Sure.
And so, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Isn't the biggest concern All Japan Pro Wrestling partnering with WWE? I don't know.
Well, let's get back to New Japan for a minute, and something that I think obviously bears to talk about when you talk about how much turnover that they've had recently. I mean, when you think about it, in the last couple of years, going back to if you want to go back the last 10 years, that put us at 2014. So AJ Styles, who was the world champion, left the company. Tanahashi is still around. Okada is still around. Naito is still around, but Kenny Omega is gone. Jay White is gone. Kota Ibushi is gone. Those are all former IWGP heavyweight champions. And of course, when you look at their world champions now, again, Jay White is gone. Will Ospreay is going to be gone. And what made New Japan special is seeing a lot of this American talent who were battle tested, ready for that Japanese style of wrestling, are now appearing in AEW and having these matches in AEW. So you have Jon Moxley wrestling that same style that he is in New Japan Pro Wrestling. You have Jay White, who's now in AEW, supposed to be giving us these dream matches. And soon you're going to have Will Ospreay in AEW, where now New Japan doesn't have the opportunity to manufacture these dream matches that kind of set them apart, kind of made them a bigger deal. Now, one thing you do have to acknowledge is that the partnership that New Japan Pro Wrestling has with CMLL. They also have a partnership with MLW, and up until recently, they were still working with Impact Wrestling. So it's not like they have a disadvantage of having access to foreign talent, but some of the top names that have been a part of New Japan for some time now are now no longer a part of New Japan, and I wonder if that's going to have a negative effect on New Japan going forward.
Yeah, let's address two things here that I'm seeing in the comments. Matthew Underwood, who did AEW lose? They lost whichever wife of the Bucks was in charge of the merchandising, and their criticisms that there was never enough merchandise on hand when they were going to for house events, or I don't remember what they call them. They didn't call them house events, but in different places, that there was never enough merchandise, that the merchandise wasn't very high quality, and there just wasn't much.
Real quick, because I was at AEW and I could firsthand convince and talk about this, Sting has always been from where? Where does Sting come from? Sting was always from Venice Beach, California, right?
Right.
California guy. He was at the Kia Forum, a place he wrestled some 30 years before with WCW. This was his last time in California. And guess how many Sting shirts were available for sale?
200.
Zero Sting shirts. I would have spent $40 on a Sting shirt. I was there. And okay, I get it. No Sting shirt. So, but you know who else is a SoCal guy? Southern California through and through? Samoa Joe. You guys, if you don't know this, Samoa Joe grew up in Huntington Beach, California. He is a local guy. He's a SoCal guy. He's my guy, man. I mean, I watched that guy start his professional wrestling career in Santa Ana, California. How many Samoa Joe shirts do you think were on sale at AEW's event?
I guess we'll say zero again.
Samoa Joe is now the world's heavyweight champion, and I don't think they decided that just last week to put the belt on the guy. There was zero merchandise.
They might have.
Sure,
yeah.
they might have. Okay, that's fair. They might have. He was supposed to be getting a shot at Max. They were advertising a shot at Max back on the 30th, and he had wrestled, I think, in between the event that we were at and the pay-per-view, the next pay-per-view, he was supposed to have a shot at MJF and didn't win the first time. But they never even sold the goddamn shirt. Pardon my language. They never sold a Samoa Joe shirt at that event in California. I mean, makes no damn sense to me.
Yeah, it was. She was really bad at her job, and the other one that they lost was the guy that actually booked the buildings and stuff. He's actually going to be working for one of the buildings now, doing the reverse, trying to get people to come in. But he was also said to be bad at his job in that he would basically kill a market by booking, a lot of events close together, but also because of their limited schedule, people would go home. So he would book them to. The best example I can give would be here in Texas, saying he would book them on a Wednesday night for Dynamite in Dallas, and then send them home. And then maybe on Saturday night, he would have them booked in Fort Worth, which is like a 30-minute drive, send them home. Then book them in Austin, which is 3 hours from DFW, which isn't that far. But, book them in Austin for Wednesday night, send them home, and then book them for San Antonio, which is an hour from Austin.
Yeah.
And everything, and you'd be going, well, you're burning out the Texas market, and you're costing us a lot of money because we have to keep sending them home and taking them back out to basically the same place.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. I think when I look, when AEW was here back in November, They did a show in Ontario on a Wednesday. Then they did back-to-back shows on Friday, and that was because they were forced to do because of some reason they had to do Collision and what's the other show? Not Dynamite, but the other one. They had to put them on at the same time, and they were going to record one and then air it the next night. So Friday night they did 2 shows, and then Saturday they did the pay-per-view. Anyways, long story.
Yeah. So they did Rampage and Collision, and then
there it is. And they even filmed the Ring of Honor match with Ronda Rousey, which was still one of the highest viewed videos on this account. So I won't complain too much, but
so anyway, yeah, that's who's leaving, and that's one of those. Is there going to be some addition by subtraction? And according to James H. Jackson, getting back to New Japan, he said the talent was getting beat up in New Japan. That's the reality of it. Strong style plus tournament after tournament is tough.
Yeah.
And
even
he also noticed that Tama Tonga has announced he's leaving. So
where do you think he ends up?
I don't know. I really don't.
He would be, I think. I don't think he's like an AEW guy, and that's not to insult him. It's so bloated over there. I don't know where you'd go if you want to make an impact immediately. And no pun intended. TNA Wrestling, I think, is where you would go. Sign a short-term deal with TNA, get yourself over in the States, and then make WWE want you. What do you get with the idea that AEW pulled Max off the roster?
Oh, did they?
He's no. They pulled MJF. Excuse me. AEW pulled MJF off of its active roster. So if you were to go to the website, he's not on there anymore.
Max has made it clear that his contract was up at the beginning of 24. Now, a lot of people believe that when he came back, it was with a re-signed deal. So, could it be a work? Maybe. And I would lean more towards a work than anything else. Unless he shows up on SmackDown tomorrow,
Well, look, we're not,
or as a Royal Rumble. Let's put it this way: if he's not on SmackDown or he's not in the Royal Rumble, then it's a work.
It's very interesting that they would even. Do you remember when Brian Pillman talked Eric Bischoff into actually releasing him to work this whole loose cannon angle, and that we'll really work the sheets. We're really going to work the sheets, Bischoff, by giving me my release, firing me essentially. And then when I show up again, it'll blow their mind. And then he went and worked ECW for 3 months and then signed with the WWE. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was actually, according to Bischoff, he was the one that came up with the idea of doing the work release, and Pillman talked him into actually granting the release so that he could go to ECW. And it's just boy, he was an idiot. Because they could have just given him permission to go to ECW.
But he wanted it to look official and wanted to get the audience talking. They wanted the dirt sheets to get in on it.
Well, there was a thing about working the boys too, if everybody believes it, and which is a stupid thing to do. Don't work your own talent. So we'll see, but yeah, for my take, it's a work. Now, doesn't mean I'll be right. A ton of people thought Cody leaving was a work.
People thought CM Punk was a work too.
Well, I just remember with Cody, there were so many people saying it was a work, and then because I even posted after he finally showed up in WWE at whichever pay-per-view he showed up in, and I said, I go, so how many of you still think it's a work?
Yeah.
And I remember there was one guy. He goes, "Damn it, I'm going to die by it." It's a work.
Hey, Luthez, smarten me up, brother. Who is Tama Tonga? Who's his brother-in-law? I don't know much about Tama Tonga. I know he's always been one of those heels in New Japan who got over for being like a dick, like being a heel, like a real genuine heel, and then he started being this nice guy, and I didn't like it, and I kind of quit following him. But I don't know who he's married to.
Or who's married to a member of his family.
Are you kidding me? Tonga is related to Tyrus through marriage?
Never heard that.
Ah, what is this? What? For real? Now I'm on Wikipedia trying to find this out. Wikipedia, you know how accurate that information is. Really? I've never heard this.
Let's see. He's Haku's nephew, adopted son.
Well, I knew Tonga was Tyrus is married to Haku's daughter. What? I thought Tyrus was married to some blonde chick. What? My whole world, I don't feel like I've been living a lie here. What's going on? Yeah, Tyrus's wife is blonde. I'm not saying that can't be Haku's daughter, but she's got blue eyes, dude.
I'm so confused.
All right. I'm going to pull it up here. The Mandela effect is real. Maybe. Okay, here it is. I'm going to pull up the overlay right here. Wait, where did it save it at? Damn it. Bear with me, folks. Nope, that's not it either. What happened? Where did it? Oh, never mind. Why doesn't anything ever work the way I want it to? Anyways,
Rink, R-I-N-C-K.
He was married to Haku's daughter. Okay.
I can take a was.
Okay. Come on, man. Just give me an answer here. Where's his personal life stuff?
I don't have any personal life for him. If you're looking at Wikipedia.
Yeah, I'm on Wikipedia.
He's not that big of a celebrity.
Sometimes Google, when you Google, I'm on Bing. That's why. Never go Bing. God damn it. My computer just hates me right now. That's all.
Well, what do you want to spend the last 20 minutes talking about?
I don't know. Tyrus has been married once and has two children before marrying Ingrid. Numerous reports say that he had a daughter and son with a previous partner, and the identity of these kids have remained a mystery to the public. Who was Tyrus's first wife? They're only bringing up Ingrid Rinnick.
Yeah, he's only been legally married once. So whether he was ever, I didn't even know Haku had a daughter, honestly. So.
Well, Luthez, maybe you are high. Maybe you are a part of some secret group. I don't know, but I don't feel like that's out there. Paladin says, just read it, Jay. I'll believe you. Oh, Paladin. That's my Paladin, by the way. Deonna Purrazzo, I did want to bring that up because Paladin asked. We mentioned it briefly earlier. I guess you and I have a different opinion of Deonna Purrazzo. Paladin, I actually think she's really good. The Virtuoso might not just be a nickname for her as far as I'm concerned. I know she's real life pals with Britt Baker, so I'm sure that signing kind of helps smooth some things over for Britt Baker, who we haven't seen a whole lot of on TV as of late. I think she's a good signing. I think she's a good talent. I think the women's division obviously needs a lot of work in AEW. I feel like they're making some really good strides recently with some of the more storyline-driven matches that we're seeing. Obviously, Toni Storm is killing it as far as I'm concerned. I think has a hilarious gimmick. She commits to it on a whole other level. I don't know if you saw the press conference when she mentioned she's like, there's a free agent out there, Tony, and I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I want you, Wendy Richter. And everyone just started laughing. And she's like, I'll fuck you up. And I was like, yep. She's great. Love her. She's awesome. But then also, like, the whole gimmick with Julia Hart and how she's metamorphosis from the cheerleader to now this like gothic like creature, and how Sky Blue has become a part of that with the House of Black and all that stuff. I feel like they're gearing up more storylines, which I think is necessary to make. You can have good, compelling pro wrestling, but I feel like the storylines are what attract people to stick around. So now that they're trying and efforting to put a little bit more story involved, I think that's going to help. And if that leads to a Julia Hart and Thunder Rosa feud for the TBS title, I think that might be very interesting. And then, the fact of the matter is that Ring of Honor and AEW have right now 3 titles, soon to be 4, for women to compete for. I really feel like they need to make that division viable. So Deonna Purrazzo, I think, is a great fit. I'm interested to see where it goes. I just don't know where it's going to go right now.
I remember she wrestled there once already.
At AEW?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true, huh? I forgot about that.
You remember the match?
Say it one more time.
Do you remember the match?
No.
How can you not remember?
I'm not a huge AEW fan.
Well, what if it was involving ROH?
It doesn't help me. Was it Athena? Oh, she was that's right. She was the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. That's right.
Well, I think
Paladin knows. Paladin brought it up. Deonna debuted against Mercedes Martinez to drop the Ring of Honor belt.
That's right.
See, our Paladin knows what he's talking about, guys. Maybe not married, but had kids together. I believe her name is Vika. And that goes back to Tyrus. Who is Tyrus and Vika? Let's see what that pulls up. What is Haku doing now? How much did Haku weigh? Did Haku ever fight? Ever lose a fight?
That is his daughter's name, but there's not much. There's no real history behind her.
Here it is. IMDb's got it. Thank you, Internet Movie Database. His daughter Vika has one son, George, with wrestler Tyrus Brodus Clay. Defeated Harley Race in 1989 to become the new king of the WWE. What the hell? Okay.
Haku.
Yeah.
And he didn't defeat Harley Race.
How did he become king in the WWE?
If I remember correctly, Harley Race was out injured. And they had the same manager. And managers declared him champion or king or did a tournament or something. I don't remember exactly.
Camacho. Does that name sound familiar?
Camacho?
Camacho.
Hector Macho Camacho.
I don't know. I give up. I'm done.
Hector
I'm done. I'm
Macho.
done with Tyrus. I'm done with his baby mama. I'm done with Haku. But yeah, confirmed. Tyrus is, in fact, the father. I felt very Maury Povich there.
I'd ask why that's an Internet Movie Database, but I don't think I really want to know.
It was all about Haku. Let's see. Here's some trivia about Tonga. Fifita is widely regarded within the wrestling industry as one of the toughest men both in and out of the ring. In the Powers of Pain Shoot Wrestling interview, DVD released by RF Video, wrestlers Warlord and Barbarian talk about Haku once knocked out 4 men single-handedly at a nightclub after the men would not stop taunting him with disparaging racial remarks. It is referred to as Uncle Tonga in Dwayne Johnson's autobiography, The Rock says. He helped Rock with his first professional WWF match, lending Dwayne a pair of his old electric purple wrestling tights, which were too big on Dwayne. Although not a blood relative of The Rock, Tonga has been a good family friend for all of Dwayne's life, as Tonga was very close to Rock's late grandfather, Samoan wrestler High Chief Peter Maivia. Tag team partners have included Rikishi, the Barbarian, Andre Rene Roussimoff, and the Tonga Kid. He was the best man at the wedding of Dwayne Johnson. Wore his Meng wrestling attire while appearing in the Mortal Kombat Conquest episode Festival of Death. WCW booker Kevin Sullivan gave him the name Ming based on the Flash Gordon villain Ming the Merciless. He's a former member of the Heenan family. He's the first cousin of former radio and TV Tonga news reporter Sion Vikiliani. When Haku jumped from WCW to WWE in 2001, he was still the hardcore champion. WCW never acknowledged the belt again.
He did send it back to them.
That is the most WCW thing ever. He has 2 children, Vika and Tavita, and 2 adopted sons, Alipate and Taula, who are actually Haku's nephews by blood. His daughter Vika was an all-country volleyball and softball player at Poikiana High School in Florida. She graduated from Florida State University. When walking to the ring for his matches, he would shout into the camera, "Mate Ma'a Tonga," translation, "Die for Tonga," which is the motto of the school he attended, Tonga College. He also usually writes his phrase next to his name when signing autographs. His wrestling name, Haku, is the first word uttered by Dwayne Johnson in The Mummy Returns in 2001. Should I keep going? Is this fun for anybody else?
No.
No, it's not. What's your favorite haiku?
My favorite haiku of Haku?
Yeah.
I don't have one.
The Tyrus rabbit hole is never ending. Just like his appetite. Jeremy picking up the Willie Bowen slack. Willie pieced out because we were talking about Kamille going to NXT, I think. Devin Mercer speaking of the future President Camacho, The Rock met with Pentagon leaders to consider a presidential run. I think that's from Idiocracy. I think that's what Matthew Underwood's getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Underwood, you'll never convince me black and white TV in 2024 is plain stupid. She can do the same thing in color, but if you enjoy it, congrats, not for me. I don't know what's going on there.
I don't either. I've lost the plot, as the old saying goes, which apparently we have too, because our plans on what to talk about, we only had 5 topics and we only got through 3 of them.
I kind of merged some of the topics together.
Yeah, we still only got through 3.
Fun fact, I never saw pro wrestling in color until I saw it live the first time. And that was at the 75th anniversary show where Luthez and I, along with the other Alliance, We Are the Alliance, showed up. James H. Jackson says, Jay, I can't see you anymore on camera. You're too deep down that rabbit hole. Just throwing it out there. Boobs. Okay, thanks, buddy. I'm a big fan.
Okay.
Never mind. Is this a good stopping point, DK? Should I read some more trivia?
I think we've killed the audience, so it's probably as good a stopping point as any, except.
Former sumo wrestler under the name of Fukuano Shima was trained by the legendary Giant Baba.
Nobody ever actually used that name.
Haku entered the NWA using the name Prince Tonga and was later promoted to King Tonga.
Did you watch Power?
Yes, I did.
Did you like it?
So it was okay. So I already said okay. So too many times for me to be. Yeah, I liked it. There was some good matches. I like Joe Alonzo. Did you know that Alex Misery is the son of former NWA North American champion El Gran Apollo?
Somebody told me that. I think you told me that, and I think they mentioned it on the air.
I don't remember them mentioning it. That was a fun match. That kid should put on some size. I think Alex Misery looks like he could be very good in the future, but I don't think he makes it as a junior heavyweight. I think he looks very, very frail, and I don't like the way he looked. I think he should put on some mass if he's taking my advice.
He looked very indie to me. I will say that.
Yes. But then when I look at Joe Alonzo, who looks like he belongs in a boy band now, I mean, I hate him even more, which is great. He's doing a good job.
I had really mixed feelings about Joe Alonzo. And part of it may have been the fact that without the beard and the new haircut, he looked very baby-facious.
Yes.
And so I didn't feel like it necessarily, his look no longer matched his wrestling thing.
No.
But for some reason, because of this, and maybe also because of who he was wrestling, I felt like his general body look wasn't good. He almost looked thinner to me. And I'm not saying he was, but I think just he had a very baby-face look. And I mean, baby-face as in baby-face wrestler, and baby-face as in baby-face, which is where the term comes from. And it caused me to kind of look at him as a whole. It's just like, he needs to start working out a little more.
I actually thought the opposite. I thought he looks like he's been working out.
Well, maybe because I hadn't really paid much attention to his build before.
Okay. But, I felt like
somehow I noticed it this time, and I thought he looks like he needs to get a little better definition.
Yeah, maybe.
Says the fat guy sitting over here. But anyway.
I just told a skinny guy that he needs to put on weight, and I'm sitting there trying to lose weight. So, I mean, what's going on here? Who's really doing what here? And, Matthew Underwood said he leaned up, and I just felt like he looked like he was in better shape, but maybe I'm wrong.
To me, he didn't look in better shape. He did look leaner to me.
Okay.
But he looked leaner, but not better, I will say.
Matthew Underwood's saying that he cut out sugar before the holidays. Maybe that's what I should have done. Instead, I was doubling down on those Reese's peanut butter trees.
I'm pretty sure I added sugar for the holidays.
The worst thing in the world is Reese's peanut butter cups. They're just okay, right? Peanut butter cups are fine. But if you could get those Christmas trees or the Halloween pumpkins or the Easter egg Reese's, I can't say no to that.
Yeah, who can?
I'm not strong enough, DK.
Me either. Okay, so then the next thing is the three-way match. What do you think about that?
I'm very interested to see both of those guys more. I can't remember their names right now. Katera and John Storm was Stormy. What was his name? Storm Thomas.
Something like that. It was weird.
They both caught my attention. I want to see more of them. I feel like the weakest link in the match was the guy who won. I was bored by Jake Dumas. I was very impressed by the other two guys, especially that elbow drop from the other guy, not Storm. He connected from a very far part across the ring. I feel like both those guys would be really good in the NWA going forward. I hope they weren't just one-offs. But yeah, I mean, the match was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't awful. But I feel like the most boring part of it was the guy who won.
I thought those two guys and the other guy from the first match all need to go get spray tans. Right. At least they did look good. I mean, I thought they looked like they're in pretty good shape, except for well, the guy that won. He actually looked like he put on a little bit of weight.
Sure,
he may
have. What did you think of the promo for Murdoch's?
Oh, wasn't my favorite, but it was okay.
I feel like. Do you remember when, Daddy, when Trevor Murdoch lost the world's heavyweight title, and he just kind of lost it, and he got this much meaner, aggressive style of wrestling and talking, and kind of like Harley Race. Like, I mean, I feel like he was trying to be Harley Race, and it was good. And it all was right in the world, and I liked it. And then...
Hi, James.
Huh?
Told James why.
Oh, hey, James. Enjoy it. See you, brother. But, like, I felt like it just was... this promo was not that. This was very forced, and he's talking about, you know, what politics are telling me who to like, and I just... look, I don't want that out of him. I don't want that out of, you know, anyone in the NWA, really. Let's not talk about politics. Let's talk about pro wrestling. Let's not talk about how America is. Let's talk about how you're going to win the tag team titles.
Knox and Murdoch are supposed to be kick-ass baby faces.
Sure.
They're supposed to be, I want to be careful how I say this. They're supposed to be in the Stone Cold vein as they're so tough and, you know, that they wrestle like heels even though they're faces. And, you know, they just get over by the fact that they can stomp a mud hole on anybody. And so I wasn't into that interview. My thoughts on the three-way match, other than the fact I hate three-way matches just in general. I didn't know who I was supposed to cheer for.
Yeah, I got that.
It's like they all came out as heels.
Yeah.
And so it was like I didn't know what was going on and who I should cheer for or why I should care. I mean, I was supposed to care because it was for the television title, but now that I know there's a television title match with a woman, I don't care. Or a non-binary woman or whatever. And see, that's how things can ruin something. Why do I care about this match now that I just saw today? The television title, and they have that crap coming up. Yeah. And what did you think about the main event?
You know, it was actually fun. I liked it. There wasn't one of my biggest problems with Blunt Force Trauma is there's too much Aaron Stevens, and although he was still there and very much a part of the match, he was a little bit more muted than usual, in my opinion. And you got to see Wrecking Ball Legursky and Jay Bradley actually get in there and not be the fixers, but be two legitimate tough guys. And I like seeing, you know, we always call it the meaty men slapping meat. That's kind of what was going on here. Jay Bradley looked very aggressive. Wrecking Ball Legursky didn't look like the goofball that he normally is. And I like that about them. I like that match for them. It didn't end the way I would have hoped. You know, drop kick shouldn't be the move that put out Wrecking Ball Legursky. But
okay, that was good. That's where I was heading. It's like, what did you think of the end? Because even a double drop kick sometimes I find to be a difficult finisher, you know, on the believability scale.
Yeah.
I was wondering what you thought. Just kind of a drop kick out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and that was it. And it was almost like someone Keith the ref and said, "We're out of time. End it."
Yes.
And the ref said, "Pin on next move."
Take it home, fellas.
Yeah. Whatever the next move is, we're counting the pin. And it was just like, drop kick, boom, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And they're making it sound like this was the most awesome drop kick ever and the standard finishing move. The commentary team, which I guess Tim Storm's back on commentary after
With no explanation.
Yeah, with after not being on commentary anymore because he was gone back to live wrestling, which was fine. I mean, I didn't have any. I like Danny Deals on the commentary team, and Tim doesn't necessarily take away from that. So, congratulations to Legursky on getting married. Congratulations, Legursky, and or condolences. I'm not really sure which I'm supposed to offer. Am I a bitter ex-husband? Yes, and yeah, it was weird to me in that I was kind of enjoying it until the end, and then I was just kind of like, I mean, overall, I thought the show was okay, but that end just really got me. That and the other guys that need to, get their spray tans.
Well, as I'm sitting here thinking about it too, like we know who are behind the mask. We know who makes up blunt force trauma, and they're both pretty strong dudes, pretty buff guys. But picking up Wrecking Ball Legursky might have been a little bit more than what they could do. Maybe that was the best way to end it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we always had Aaron Stevenson as loaded glove to go for the 483rd time.
Yeah, but see, and that's the thing too. Like, I feel like that's been done so much that you can't do it anymore. Otherwise, they look like weak champions, And it's one thing. It's one thing against Murdoch and Knox, but if you're doing it against the former U.S. Tag Title champions, who really, let's be honest, they haven't held gold in a while, and they haven't really been on a hot streak. Like, the whole idea of them getting a title match to me is kind of stupid because the wins and losses don't back that up.
Well, I do like. I don't remember who it was that pointed out. It may have been Deals that pointed out that this was the Fixers.
Yeah. Yes.
It
wasn't the LLC. It wasn't the Matty Vine and they just called it the.
Yeah, and so I did like that fact. So, overall, I found the show interesting, but not. I don't know that I'd rank it good. I'd rank it okay. So I guess is that 2 stars?
No, well, like, okay, if you do a 5-star rating, then okay would be a 3-star, right?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
5 stars would be your A. 4 stars.
5 stars would be
perfect.
Wow, that was as good as it gets. 4 stars is, oh man, that was really good.
Okay.
So
3 stars. 3 stars is good. 2 stars okay.
Yeah, 2 stars is okay, and 1 star is.
And no stars is most weeks for the NWA.
Yeah.
Zing!
Or includes one of their matches. I don't know. I do like having a crowd better. I hate to be too critical with the crowd. I do love having a crowd.
Matthew Underwood says, hey, you guys didn't even touch on the Idol WPC segment.
There's a reason for it.
I watched it, and it was, you had an opportunity to do something like pretty cool for this old guy, and I feel like they should have executed that. I feel like they could have done that for Austin Idol. I feel like him going going to heel on William Patrick Corgan and You could see Billy laughing through the whole thing, so he knew it was a work. He was having a good time. And I like the fact that he said
the only
nothing
thing that
against
was missing was him hitting the granddaughter with the plaque.
Mandy, who helps our female demographic, thank you so much for being here, Mandy. Anytime you have something you say, you go right to the front of the line here. I was hoping they would do better for someone like Idol. Yeah, but I also feel like that might have been his idea too, to because he started calling him Sucka Soda. Sucka Soda?
I based on Billy's reaction, I'm going to go with his response may not have been planned. I think he may have.
I kind of I hope you're right. That would make it better for me if that's the case.
Only because Billy just seemed to be like cracking up, like I knew he would say something, but I had no idea that this is.
I do like that he didn't say anything negative about Graham's granddaughter. He didn't. He played that straight, which because come on, she's not even in the industry anymore. She's just showing up to, hey, I'm here. The history, and then he starts slamming her. That would be awful. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes me think it's a work. Not a work. That it was him being off the cuff. He was respectful where he needed to be respectful, and then heel where he needed to be heel. And so I feel like that was probably just him. I think that was hello, lost my mind. I think that was him being what he wanted it to be. And you know what? Wasn't they cut off segment 2. Yeah. Wasn't my favorite segment, but I'll give him credit for it if that was the case.
I think David Valentine's trying to work us here, but he says, breaking news. Sasha Banks signs with MLW. Wouldn't that be the craziest thing ever? She decides she wants to work for MLW. I know Jeremy would be happy because that means she's not in. No, he wouldn't be happy because he watches MLW. Anyways, I think this is a good stopping point. I think we've exhausted our. Look, we know next week is going to be a big week for the NWA. There's multiple shows that are happening that I think that anyone who's a fan of the NWA should be paying attention to. Of course, the Viva la Revolucion, which takes place at 10 p.m. Eastern time, which means it's going to take place after Paranoia. There's also going to be the CCW event that's going to take place on Friday, January the 12th. And now I believe there's information out there that it's going to be part of EC3 will be holding an NWA seminar, potential like a scouting type thing. And it looks like this relationship with Coastal Championship Wrestling might be becoming more and more of a legitimate thing because now this is like the third event that they're working together. And also that same weekend, they'll be doing the TV tapings on the 14th. And then, of course, during that weekend is the Off the Hook event with the Page sisters taking over the family business. And we know that Kenzie will be defending her women's championship. I'm sorry. That's the following week. My apologies. But, yeah, that's coming up soon, too. And we got January 27th. Not hard times, but bad times in Waterloo. EC3. And I believe they'll be crowning the Midwest champion. We know in February there will be another JCP event. So a lot of good stuff coming. Jeremy is not a fan of Sasha Banks at all. I found this out last night.
I did not know that. Well, actually, I think I did, but I had forgotten it.
Well, okay, I think we're going to call it there. Again, I appreciate you guys all joining us this evening. Again, we do have a new sponsor that's helping us with the show. This is the first custom belt that I've ever purchased. It's the first title I've ever bought, DK. I never paid for any other wrestling belt I have.
Huh.
Some really nice people like me, evidently. But I might be getting another title made up soon.
They might be idiots.
What's that?
I said those people might be idiots who've been giving you belts.
Maybe. I wouldn't say that, not to their face, of course. So check out our deal with them. If you're looking to get a customized wrestling title for your club or your group, or if, like for me, for a fantasy baseball team, that's what mine is for. But you could also do you take your belts to shows, Jay? No, I don't ever take a belt to a show unless it's an NWA event, in which I take the 10 pounds of gold if I know a world heavyweight champion is going to be there that I don't have already signed. So, like, I don't need to take the belt to an EC3 main event because he's already signed my belt. But this has never left my house. And so, yeah, no, I haven't done a lot with that. And Devin Dowling, yes, Double D, I play fantasy baseball. In fact, I won. My big year was during the pandemic, much like the Los Angeles Dodgers, and there was no belt to celebrate yet. So
it's the only way that Jay can have a team that wins is in fantasy baseball.
We also are still partnered with Dubby. You could save 15% on your Dubby purchase by using the Alliance blog code when you check out, or you could just use the link that's provided in the video description. We also have a merch store where you can get a nice hat like this, a nice coffee mug like this, or other t-shirts at the that's a part of the merchandise link that's in the video description. So if you like the show, keep watching it. Please thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to help financially support the show, consider making a purchase through one of our partners, whether it be Trophy Smack or Dubby or our own merchandise store. DKM, if folks would like to follow you on the socials, how could they do that?
At DKM FWTX on whatever socials I'm on. I don't really keep up anymore.
And of course, the Alliance blog is everywhere on all social medias, including TikTok, Blue Sky, Reels, Buzz. I think that's one. I don't know. We're everywhere again. So yeah, appreciate you guys being here. We'll be back on Tuesday with another pre-party. Then Wednesday, of course, the other Alliance guys will be here, and then on Thursday we'll be back. So again, guys, appreciate you guys being here. It's always the fun part of the week. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Happy New Year. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.